Sometimes all we see is wood, the deity. Or we go to a temple and the deity is carved out of stone, or perhaps there is a photo, we see a painting. We strive, then we wonder that perhaps if actually Lord Krishna was here, would it not be completely transformative? If Krishna could actually come in front of me, then would it not completely change my life? Would it not take my level of faith to a completely different level? And we wonder like this. And we wonder, why does the Supreme Lord not come in front of us? Why does he remain hidden from us? The answer to that is actually that he is always in front of us. We fail to see him. We fail to see him because we don't take instructions from Krishna on how to see him. In today's verse, if you will join me for this next 1 hour, let us try to understand how Krishna is teaching us to see him, so that we can perceive him in the way that he wants us to perceive him, the beginning of our spiritual journey. So that as we advance in our spiritual journey, Krishna gives us varying degrees, different stages, levels, like in a video game, different levels. Once you cross the first level, second level, third level, there are different levels of guidance that Krishna gives us in how to see him through the medium of spiritual master. So please join me in going through this class today. But first we'll start with prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Ashtapayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhagavate Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. Text. Dasa Apsu Kaunteya Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayoho Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayoho Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Shabdaha Paurusham Rishu Shabda Ke Paurusham Rishu Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayo Sarva Vedeshu Shabda Ke Paurusham Rishu Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayo Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Shabda Ke Paurusham Rishu Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya Sati Suryayo Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Shabda Ke Paurusham Rishu
Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya
Prabhasmi
Sati Suryayo Sarva Vedeshu Sabda Ke Paurusham Rishu Rasohamapsu Kaunteya
Rasohamapsu Kaunteya
Prabhasmi Sarisureyo
Bhasmi Sashishuryayo
Pranava Sarva Vedeshu
Pranava Sarva Vedeshu
Saptakhe Paurusham Nishu
Saptakhe Paurisham Vishu. Rasohamapsu Kaunteya Bhasmi Sashishuryayo Pranava Sarva Vedeshu Saptakhe Paurisham Vishu. Online. Online. Shweta Mataji video. Synonyms. Rasaha, taste. I think, should I be on mute or unmute for the Zoom? Hare Krishna. Online, are you able to hear me? Shweta Mataji is on. Yeah. Volume is maximum, but I'm not able to hear. Okay, she's not able to hear me. But mine, it is not unmuted. Okay. Okay. Then I'll go back on mute. Synonyms. Rasaha, taste. Aham, I. Apsu, in water. Deya,
Kaunteya
son of Kunti.
Vasanappunti
Prabha,
Brahmasmi
I am the light.
and the light.
Shashi Surya Yoho,
Sasi Surya Yoho,
in the sun and the moon.
the sun and the moon.
Pranavaha,
Pranavaha,
3 letters A-U-N.
the 3 letters A-U-N.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Bhagavad. Oh, you're able to hear me now?
Yeah, no, I
Sarva,
Sarva,
all.
in all.
Vedeshu,
Vedeshu,
in the Vedas.
in the Vedas.
Shabdaha,
Sabda,
sound vibration.
sound vibration.
K,
K,
in the ether.
in the ether.
Paurusham,
Paurusham,
ability.
ability.
Rishu,
Rishu,
in man.
in man.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Translation. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Translation with repetition. O son of Kunti,
O son of Kunti,
Arjuna,
Arjuna,
I am the taste of water,
I am the taste of water,
light of the sun
the light of the sun
and the moon,
and the moon,
the syllable Om
the syllable O
in the Vedic mantras.
in the Vedic mantras.
I am sound, I am the sound,
And the sound
ether,
in ether
ability in man.
and ability in man.
This verse explains how the Lord is all pervasive by his diverse material and spiritual energies. The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine. Similarly, the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink sea water because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste. And this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste. And the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying water to quench man's thirst. That is the way of perceiving Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and the personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achintya Bheda and Abheda Tattvam, simultaneously one and different. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahmajyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. Similarly, Pranava or the Omkara, transcendental sound used in the beginning of every Vedic hymn to address the Supreme Lord, also emanates from him. Because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound of Omkara. But they do not realize that Omkara is a sound representation of Krishna. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere, and one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are an illusion, and so knowledge of Krishna's liberation and ignorance of him is bondage. Thus ends the wonderful transcendental Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Samyavadi Paschatya Deshadharini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today's verse is another very frequently quoted verse by Srila Prabhupada, as several verses in the 7th chapter are. So let's just look at this verse a little closer. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho pranava sarva vedeshu shabda ke paurisham vishu. Raso aham apsu kaunteya. Rasaha, there is a taste. We've studied in the 2nd chapter also. Rasavarjam rasoapyasya, the taste. Raso aham. Apsu, there is water. I am the taste of water. Kaunteya, that is Arjuna, son of Kunti. Prabha Asmi, Prabha Asmi, Prabha, Yasya Prabha Prabhavatu. That is the effulgence or the light. The light, Prabha Asmi. I am the light of Shashi, that is moon, Surya Yoho, the sun. So I am the light of the sun and the moon. So we have studied in science that the sun, the light of sun is actually generated by the reaction, nuclear fusion reaction of hydrogen atoms coalescing into helium that produces light and heat. But that is not the origin of that light and heat. That is not the origin of the light. The origin of that light is actually from Krishna. That's what Krishna is saying here. The origin of the light, the sun is so luminant, such a luminary in the sky. But Krishna says that I am Prabha Asmi Shashi Surya Yoho. Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu. Pranava is the Omkar sound, Om. That is there in the Veda. All the Vedas in every Sarva Vedeshu. In all the Vedic literatures, all the Vedic mantras start with the sound Om. So that Om sound, I am that person. I am that Om sound Om. Shabdaha ke Paurisham Vishu. Shabdaha ke, these are two different things. Shabdaha ke or come manobuddhi devacha. So come or ke, that is referring to ether or sky. Prabhupada uses these two terms interchangeably. The sky. The sky is also an interesting concept. We generally refer to sky in a colloquial sense of a space that's above the earth. But of course, earth being a sphere, sky is all around the earth, and it is limitless. It expands to the extent of the universe. So the entire space of the sky within the universe, that is called ether. And the sound originates in this ether. So Shabda Ke. So I am that sound in ether. Paurusham Rishu. Paurusham is translated as ability. Paurusham. Rishu is in man. So I am the ability in man. So there are five things that Krishna is saying here. I am Raso Aham Apsu. Rasoham Apsu. That is, I am the taste of water. That is number one. Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho. The light of the sun and the moon. The second one. And the third one is Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. That is, I am the syllable Om, the Vedic mantras. And the fourth one is, I am the sound in ether, Shabda Ke. And the fifth one is Paurusham Rishu. And we will see in the subsequent verses, there are many other such examples that Krishna is giving, how he is present all around us in many different manifestations. So let us look at this more closely. Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yoho Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu Shabdake Paurusham Rishu. Very important verse. It's something that we should memorize because it deeply impacts how we lead our lives. Very, very deeply impacts how we lead our lives. So, one important concept to begin with in this verse is Krishna says, Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, Rasa Aham. And this keyword Aham appears many times in Bhagavad Gita. Practically in every chapter. It occurs many, many places. Tattve Vaham Jatunasam, right from the beginning of the second chapter. Tattve Vaham Jatunasam Natvam Nime Janatpa. So this word Aham appears many places in Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna is referring to himself as a person. Of course, Krishna is speaking, he's a person. So stating the obvious, Krishna is a person. But the words of Bhagavad Gita, the words of Krishna are twisted so much that it is worth reflecting on this and recognizing that he's saying, I am the taste of water. And Prabhasmi Sashi Surya Yoho Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu Shabdake Paurusham Rishu. So he is referring to himself as a person. And Krishna is never saying that I'm not a person. I'm not a person. So how do we understand this? Because on one hand, he's saying that I'm not a person. And he never says that I'm not a person. He's obviously a person. And he's saying Aham is referring to himself as a person. And at the same time, he's saying, I'm the taste of water. So the taste of water is a taste. How to understand that this is Krishna? Because Krishna, we know, is a person who has two hands, beautiful form, Shama Sundara form, and he has carrying a flute. He has a beautiful peacock feather. He has a bugle on his belt, attached to his belt. He is carrying a stick. If the flute is on the other side, then he's carrying a stick while herding the cows. Or sometimes the stick is on the side and he's playing the flute. So this is the form of Krishna we know. This is the Krishna that we understand or that we have heard of from the scriptures. But here he is sharing this information that I can be experienced as a taste of water. There is one more place where Krishna says something like this. In the 9th chapter, Maya tatam idam sarvam, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. So by me, this entire space, entire universe is pervaded. Maya tatam idam sarvam, jagat avyakta murtinam. By my impersonal form, avyakta murtinam. By my impersonal energy, this entire universe is pervaded. So on one hand, Krishna is undoubtedly a person, but when he's saying Maya tatam idam, what he is referring there is by my all-pervasive energy, I am pervading this entire universe with my energy. So similarly, when he says aham here, that rasoham apsu kaunteya, actually what he's saying is that I am present in the taste of water through my energy, through the expansion of my all-pervasive energy. I am present as a taste of water. So this aspect, we have to understand that the word aham, we should not get confused and think that everywhere where he says aham, it is referring to some impersonal aspect of Krishna. That is not the case. Tatveva aham jatunasam, where aham means actually me, the person. And here, rasoham aptakamteya, that is his energy. There are two slightly different aspects. They are simultaneously one and different, that we will see in a bit. So Krishna has many different energies, multiple energies, multi-energies. And that is described in this verse in Upanishad. Parasya Shakti Vidhaiva Shruyate. The actual verse is Natasya Karyam Karnancha Vidyate Natat Samas Cha Abhyadikascha Drishyate Parasya Shakti Vidhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. This is a very wonderful verse that we should really embrace and pay attention to, just like the other verse, Om Tad Vishnoham Surya. Actually, that's not the one I was looking at. Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Some of these verses that Prabhupada quotes, they are so fundamental in advancing our understanding of the Supreme Lord that without these verses, actually, it will just be a mental speculation. Because a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about God, the conception of God, who are we, what is this universe around us. So everybody gives their own commentary, especially when you sit down on a sofa and evening after on tea or coffee or something like that, put up your feet on the coffee table, take a long sip of coffee and look at the TV and put your shoulder around your friend and then start chatting. Oh, what do you think of God? I think this is what God is. No, I think it's all just imagination created by humans. In the course of their evolution, they have created these conceptions of God to maintain order in the society. Like this, a lot of conceptions are there. But how to understand God? So God must be understood. Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad pranitam, by the words which are given by God. That is how we understand God. So just as we understand the absolute nature of God from the other verse which I just quoted, and the fact that when you from infinite, when you take something, that what remains still remains infinite. So similarly, this particular verse is a very fundamental verse that describes a very important aspect of who God is and how his energies operate. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. That means the Supreme Lord has no work to be performed by himself. He personally has nothing to do. We have seen how the Supreme Lord is enjoying his consort, Srimati Radharani, and the gopis in Goloka. There is also this anecdote of how a person travels to various temples in India and sees the various different devatas or various murtis. And all those different devatas, they have got some weapons in their hand. Durga Devi is having this weapon. There is a demon on her feet. Like this, there are every single devata. There is something that he's doing. They're captured in the murti where they're performing some activity, some service. Somebody is a warrior general like Kartikeya, something like that. But when it comes to the temple of Radha Krishna, he realizes, oh, this is actually God, because he is doing nothing. He's just enjoying with his girlfriend. There is nothing for him to do. He's just enjoying. So, natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. There's no need for him to do anything. Why? That we will see. Natat samas cha abhyadikas cha drishyate. Natat samas. There is nobody equal to him. Natat samas. Samaha. There's nobody equal to him. Cha abhyadikas cha drishyate. Nobody greater than him also. Nobody greater than him. Nobody equal to him. So, very seminal definition of Supreme Lord. Parasya Saktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. He has multiple energies, multi-energies that are working on his behalf. So he doesn't have to work. Why? Because he's got energies that are working. And what is the quality of these energies? What kind of energies these are? These are not ordinary energies. Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. They are automatically working simply by his will. He has created energy such that it is automatically working. For example, human beings also create machines. But this machine, which is a human machine, that is created by the Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord has created a machine which can create more machines. Can we do like that? Sometimes we become very proud that, oh, we have created this vacuum cleaner. See how nicely it vacuums. No, I don't even have to push it. It goes on itself. Even goes to the nooks and corners. And soon today it cannot climb stairs. But I'm sure soon vacuum cleaner will come, which can climb stairs and vacuum the house. And everybody will be very proud. Ah, what a nice vacuum cleaner. Or robots which can find their way and do things. But can we create robots that can invent other robots? Can we create robots that can reproduce other robots from themselves? Just one robot. Imagine, robot takes one cell or one part of one screw, and the screw becomes a full robot. Have we invented any such robot? It just takes one small part, and then that one full robot comes. No. But that is the kind of energy Krishna has. We were looking at this new temple construction, and for the new temple, we are looking at the kind of lights that we should have in the temple. And there are so many new kinds of lights that are there. There are track lights that focus the light to some place. There are LED lights that diffuse the light in the whole temple. There are lights that can change color. There are lights along the pathway, along the driveway, walkway as well. All different kinds of lights that we have invented. And recently I had been to one wonderful temple. And in that temple, there were and we have seen in MIT also how the MIT Media Lab room, such wonderful light arrangements. Everywhere light coming from here, there. But can we create a light the size of the sun? Can we illuminate the whole universe? Can we create a lamp like that? Can we create a mechanism where the seasons are automatically changing? The trees are automatically shedding the leaves. New leaves are automatically coming. Butterflies, they are laying eggs. Then they become butterfly. Cocoon becomes butterfly. Just look at the wonderful energy of the Lord. This is Parasya Sakti Vividheva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. Swabhavik, automatically it's working. It's a very important feature of the Supreme Lord that we should learn to appreciate. So that at no point we have a doubt that, oh, I can also be God. I am God. I am as good as God. There is no God. God is dead. There used to be God before, but now it's no longer there. Such doubts we will never have if we can remember this verse. So his energies, multi-energies that are there, there is no place where his energy does not go. Just as the supreme, the soul is described as Sarvagataha, can go everywhere. And that is also one of Supreme Lord's expansions. Fragmental parcels, the spirit soul, individual entity. Similarly, his energy is also all pervading the universe. And the presence is also in the water. What is so difficult to accept that his presence will not be in the water? Just as his presence is everywhere, his presence is in the water also. So, we have seen in Brahma Samhita Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shvasheshwas Dham Vibhuti. That's not the verse. For Andantarastha Parmanu Chayantarastham. What is the first line of that? Andantarastha Parmanu Chayantarastham. Not remembering the first line. But Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham. So in Brahma Samhita, Brahma is describing the glories of the Supreme Lord and teaching us that the Supreme Lord is present Paramanu Chayantarastham in every atom. The Supreme Lord is present in every atom. So just as atoms are there all over the universe, in every atom there is Supreme Lord. So Supreme Lord is present in the universe, Andantarastha, and is also present in every atom within the universe. That is his Paramatma, his Paramatma feature. He pervades all pervading feature, Vishnu feature, is present in every atom. But we are unable to perceive. Right now, there's a mic here in front of me. I'm speaking into the mic. But we don't remember that, we cannot recall. Like, oh, in this mic, there is Supreme Lord present. We are not seeing the Supreme Lord very well. So, he is giving us a formula of how to perceive him. It is a perceiving me, or perceiving means Krishna. Perceiving Krishna for dummies. That is what he is giving here. So, these verses here, this is a handbook for dummies. Why dummies? Because we are unable to perceive energy of Krishna standing right in front of us. When he has said that there was nothing before, only I existed. And when everything is finished, I am only existing. So therefore his energy is present everywhere. Ahankaram iti yanme inna prakriti ashtada. He said that. So his energy is present everywhere. Krishna is absolute. Krishna is all spiritual. Therefore his energy is also spiritual. Actually his energy is not different from Krishna. Anything from spirit. But from Krishna, energy is coming. How that energy can be material? So because Krishna is spiritual, actually his energy is spiritual and not different from Krishna. But we are unable to see Krishna all around us. And therefore Krishna is giving us these verses, handbook for dummies. He says, okay, you cannot understand, you cannot see me very well. I'll give you a formula. You are, of course, the best way that he has given is to chant the holy names. Very simple way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a direct way of perceiving the Supreme Lord. Because we are unable to see him everywhere. We are unable to see this table, this laptop, this mic, camera. We are unable to see Krishna. Ordinary things around us. And so the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra has been given to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the best process in this age to see Krishna, to realize Krishna, to perceive Krishna. But for those who are unable to do that, because there are some people, sometimes there are people who don't chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but when they see us, they'll say, oh, Hare Krishna is going on. That is also good. Just by the fact that they associate a devotee with the term Hare Krishna, they say, they get benefited, even though they are not chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Oh, Hare Krishna, Mani Mani. That's something like some language. I'm just, I don't know which language there's a link, Kannada. So, they may say, just jokingly, it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chant Kazi, how the Mohammedans of the time, they were very much against the because by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the entire place was inundated with chants of Hare Krishna, like that. And this Mohammedans were very much opposed to it. Even others were opposed to it. So they would ridicule them. So normally Mohammedans would chant other names, Allah, or something like that. Or sometimes not at all. They would just be going around their ways, just as many people ordinarily do not chant the names of holy names. But when they saw the devotees of Lord Chaitanya chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they would ridicule them by saying, "Arey, what is this? You're always chanting Hare Krishna. You don't have that anymore. What? You have nothing else to do." So, in ridiculing them, they were actually repeating the words Hare Krishna, and they were getting benefited. So, like this, simply by the presence of a devotee, by the presence of a pure devotee who's spreading the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the entire universe is benefited. But still, there are some individuals who are unable to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They are unable to even say Hare Krishna or even Krishna. Or they're not able to do it all the time. Sometimes we do it. Like right now, we are in the path of devotional service. We're trying to adopt and advance in devotional service. So we have taken a regimen of chanting a certain number of fixed number of rounds per day. So somebody might have taken the oath of chanting 2 rounds, 4 rounds, 16 rounds, like that. So Srila Prabhupada recommends that we should chant 16 rounds without fail every day, minimum of 16 rounds every day, and follow the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. So we're trying to follow this. But after the 16 rounds are over, what happens? No more chanting of Hare Krishna. Today's quota is over. No other things. We chant all other things, but not Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So in such a time, how do we follow the Krishna's instruction? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dharavrata. How do we follow that? How can we perceive Krishna at every other moment of our life, of our day, after having finished chanting? So this is a formula given by Krishna, that when you are thirsty, and we are all thirsty many times in a day, when you are thirsty, you will drink water. I have observed this personally myself, because I read this Bhagavad Gita, this verse several years back. And then I saw taste of water, and the taste of water. And then I saw sometimes the water doesn't taste so good. Sometimes water tastes very sweet. I was wondering, what is the difference? Why is it that sometimes the water tastes so sweet? Is it because of the water itself? It's the same water. It's the same tap. It's the same glass. But sometimes water tastes very sweet, and sometimes it doesn't. And after observation, I found that actually when I'm thirsty and I'm drinking water, then water tastes very sweet, very, very refreshing, and it quenches the thirst and one feels satisfied. Like that. That taste is Krishna. The taste of water when you're thirsty and you feel satisfied. The sweet taste of water. That taste, the sweetness in water, that is Krishna. So Krishna is advising us that if you're not able to see him, because you think you've chanted your rounds and now you don't have to, or you're not even chanting, you're averse to even hearing this name Krishna. You think there is no God. But actually, if you accept that there's a creator, then be advised that when you are enjoying this taste of water, enjoying a glass of water, that taste, the purity in water, that is actually my energy, that is me. Nobody likes to drink seawater, right? The purport is said, Prabhupada is saying, seawater is not pure. It's mixed salt, it's not so enjoyable. The actual principle of taste in water is its purity. And we know Shrewsbury water is not very pure. Everybody has a water purifier in their house. And you know the difference between the taste of water before installing and after installing. So the purity of water, the taste that you get drinking pure water, you're thirsty, that taste is Krishna. So this is the way in which we can perceive Krishna when you're not chanting these holy names. Just like you can taste Krishna, are there other ways of perceiving Krishna? Other ways? Yes, there are other ways. So every sense that we have got, and in this verse, Krishna is saying, Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yogo, Prabhasmi Shashi Surya Yogo. I am the light in sun and the moon. So all our vision, whatever we are seeing around us, we see something is beautiful, something is red in color, something is blue in color. All of this is happening because of the light reflected from the sun and the moon. Had there not been any light coming from the sun, we would not be able to see anything at all. So all of our vision is actually enabled by the light coming from the sun and the moon. But Krishna is saying that I am the actual source of that light. I am the source of, I am the original source. Prabha is me. Shashi Surya Yoga. So when we see anything around us, whether it is Anything beautiful, the mountains, the beautiful tree, a flower, or anything that we can see, Krishna is advising that you're actually seeing me. It's my energy. Because your vision is impossible without my light, the light which is coming from me. Yasya Prabha, Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti. So the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, Yasya Prabha, Prabha is effulgence of the Lord. So Yasya Prabha, Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti, billions of universes. All the universes are being illuminated by the light emanating from his body. And that same illumination is reflecting from the sun and the moon and is enabling us to see whatever we see. Can you imagine a life without vision? Unfortunately, some people have to go through such a life. And we feel so lucky that, oh, I'm not among them. I have no problem. Of course, you're glasses, but still, I'm able to see. Every moment in our life, we are actually, except for the time we are sleeping, we are having our eyes open. It's a very, very important for a brief moment also. If somebody just closes our eyes, we get disturbed. Sometimes playfully, some child will come and close our eyes and do something like that. Say, oh, don't play with me like that. Don't do this. You keep that with your children, other friends. Don't play with me like that. You cannot take this eyes being. So the vision, we saw how taste can see Krishna, perceive Krishna in the taste. Similarly, in the vision, Krishna is telling us how we can perceive Krishna through our vision. And Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu, Shabda Ke, that is sound. I am the sound in ether. So just as you can taste, you can see, you can perceive Krishna through sight. Similarly, you can perceive Krishna through hearing. I can experience the importance of hearing because as one advances in age, gradually there's a hearing loss. So recently, I had gone to a doctor, and I was having some inclination that perhaps I'm having hearing loss. So I went to an audit. What is it called? Auditory doctor or something. I forget the exact type of doctor. But they do various experiments, and there's a tuning fork. They'll hit and they'll put this side, that side, and they'll have different volumes of the tuning fork with different frequencies. And by testing, they can figure out, oh, this frequency this ear is not working. Oh, one of my vital organs is deteriorating. There is some slight anxiety, right? So actually, the life without sound is very disturbing. The thought of it, the very thought that okay. And of course, we see that our family, many elders, they cannot hear. Sometimes only one ear will be functioning. You have to come to that ear and sound. That, and then the other ear will not hear at all. So sound is a very essential part. Sometimes we don't realize how we are hearing at this very moment. Sound is there everywhere. All around us there is sound. It's an interesting experiment that you can perform. Sometimes it's something that people who conduct meditation workshops often they will conduct is just close your eyes, breathe deeply, and try to hear all the sounds that are coming around you. Sometimes you'll hear the sound of some bus or a car on the road. If early in the morning, sound travels much better, much further. You'll even hear some train nearby, commuter rail station. Some train is horn is sounding, birds are chirping. So we can hear all the sounds. Krishna is saying that sound is actually me. That sound is actually me. So throughout the day, we are hearing the sounds and we are responding to the sounds. We hear and we respond. It's another stimulus. Just as we see, we respond. We hear and we respond. So every time we hear anything, there's an opportunity for us to remember Krishna, to perceive Krishna, the sound in it. So similarly, there is every sense that we have got, whatever sensory inputs we are having, Krishna is advising that through those sensory inputs, whatever you're sensing, actually that is me. But this way one can perceive Krishna everywhere. And we should remember this aspect of aham, soham, sugamteya, how that Krishna is present in Goloka, his personal form, his abode, personal abode. While at the same time, these wonderful energies are working automatically all around us. This philosophical understanding is actually an insight which has been mercifully given to us by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, we don't have this understanding. Because normally you would say, often arguments, if you have conversation with any friends who have got some small amount of understanding, of Vedic literature. They would say, oh, so you are belonging to the Dvaita school of philosophy, which says that actually everything is not one. That there's a difference between us, every living entity, and the Lord. They are different. Or they will say, but I don't believe in that. I think everything is one. So there is this often a misconception about Vedic literature that there are two schools of thought. One is non-dual or impersonalist philosophy, and the opposite of that is dualism. But actually, that is not the case. The understanding of Vedic literature is best had under the guidance of a pure devotee spiritual master. And we are very, very fortunate to somehow or the other come in contact with Srila Prabhupada, who has given us this knowledge coming from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, you would have no access to that. Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, they were present 500 years back. But until we came in touch with Srila Prabhupada, we had no understanding of it, we had no awareness of this. Such a wonderful philosophy. In modern science, there's a term for this thinking. It's only a genius can think like this. So scientists have studied various geniuses on how they think. How does a genius think? How does an ordinary person think? A mutually contradictory thought, how can it be true? There's an example given. There are two cows. And the cows are facing in opposite directions. There are two cows facing opposite directions. And yet they are able to see each other. How is it possible? The cows are facing opposite direction, and yet they are able to see each other. Maybe there's a mirror, like a saloon, mirror in the front, mirror in the back, and see each other. Any ideas? There are two cows, they're facing opposite direction. There's no mirror, and yet they're able to see each other. The cow. Assume that this is a face of the cow. Sorry? Through their calf. No, not through their calf. They're directly able to see each other. So it is like this. There's a cow. This is a cow. This is the face of the cow. There is the tail of the cow. And the moment I say they're facing opposite side, you're imagining like this, two cows facing opposite. But this is also facing opposite. Correct? Two cows, they're facing in opposite direction, but they're able to see each other just as they're able to see you. So this is contradictory, right? But they are true. They're facing opposite and they're able to see. They're both contradictory statements and they are both true. So in this simple example, if you just think, maybe on the spot you're not able to think. But if you think for a little time, everybody you can get it. Correct? But this kind of thinking, when this kind of thinking is applied, complex concepts in life, oftentimes scientists are not, even scientists, great scientists, they're not able to see, they're not able to get a breakthrough. That's why it is seen that even in the modern scientific endeavor, the breakthroughs happen at certain intervals. They don't happen continuously. There's a lot of scientific community that is constantly trying to make incremental advancements in science and technology. And then suddenly there comes along one visionary who's able to create a breakthrough in the scientific thinking. It completely changes the paradigm. This kind of thinking is called Janushian thinking. And it is, the great geniuses like Picasso, like Einstein, they are credited with having this kind of thinking. You would have seen a painting from Picasso where there's a woman looking through a window and also looking into the house at the same time. It's a strange kind of a painting. It's difficult to understand. But it's a painting like that, how a person can see outside the window and inside the house at the same time. To us, it seems contradictory. It's not possible. But to the artist, it's not why it's not possible. It's possible. He's able to see. It's called Janushian thinking. So this actually, this is not an ordinary philosophy. It's a great scientific mind. Because of Supreme Lord Krishna, all of science originates from Supreme Lord. And he himself has come as Lord Chaitanya. And he has explained actually what is reality. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam. What is this tattvam? In reality, as it is, how it is that he has given it to us. and that is that the Supreme Lord exists in his abode as a person, and at the same time, his energies are non-different from the Lord, and at the same time, they are different from the Lord. Just as the rays of the sun that are present in this room, even though it is 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m., the rays of the sun present in this room is not the sun, and yet the rays of the sun are present. So that is the sun and not sun. Had sun actually come into this room, everything will be evaporated, right? The entire earth will be consumed inside the sun. So the ray of the sun is sun, at the same time it is not sun. So it's just like that, Supreme Lord is working wonderfully through his multi-energies, which are working automatically. They are Krishna and at the same time not Krishna. So with this understanding, the recommendation from Krishna, the advice from Krishna is that, of course, chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we chant this sound and hear the sound, that is the best way to realize Krishna, the best way to direct way to perceive Krishna, the fastest way for us to purify our senses. But at other times, if you are not doing this, your senses can still be purified. Because only with the purified senses you can perceive Krishna. We are not able to perceive Krishna because our senses are impure right now. And the process of purification is given by Krishna, which is to see or perceive, try to perceive Krishna using all our senses. When we see any object, remember that, oh, this light is coming from Krishna, that's why I'm able to see. When you hear any sound, remember that, oh, the sound is coming from Krishna, because sound, he's sound in ether. Shabda K. And ability in man. You see anybody who's got some wonderful ability. Yesterday I had gone to this community in Hopkinton for to help with the Ratha setup. And there was one small girl, probably 5 years old. And she was playing along with other friends. She was playing basketball. So she would just take this ball, and 5-year-old girl, small girl, she would take the basketball and simply do like this, a flick of her hands. Straight, like an arrow, the ball goes into the basket, straight. No bounce, nothing. Just a silent shot, 3-pointer. Just repeatedly, one after the 5-year-old girl. And I was like astonished looking at her. Right? But Krishna is saying, when you see something astonishing like this, when you see anything extraordinary, remember me. That ability is coming from me. So like this we see, and we get so much impressed by politicians, we get impressed by sports persons, we get impressed by powerful personalities. Even in our workplace, there are so many charismatic leaders, and we take their advice and we open their heart to them, and then we get entangled in their way of thinking. But actually, how do we see that ability? Paurisham Rishu. We have to see that ability as Paurisham Rishu. This is Krishna's ability coming through this person, being manifested through this person. Just as Krishna's energy is coming as a beautiful flower, Krishna's energy is coming as a beautiful bee, honey bee, sitting on the flower. So similarly, when there is an extraordinary ability that we see in a person, we should say this is Krishna's ability that is manifesting here. In that way, our senses will get purified, our mind will get purified. And when we see things in connection to Krishna, when we perceive through our senses get purified. And by advancement in the process of purification of our senses, we are actually able to see Krishna everywhere. There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sthavara Jangama dekhiye, na dekhiye taram murti. Sarvatra haya ishtadeva sarvatra haya ishtadeva spurti. That is Sthavara Jangama dekhiye. Sthavara is stationary, immovable, anything immovable. Or Jangama is movable. So you can see whether you have trees or mountains or stones, whether you're seeing that, or you're seeing movable objects, animals, man, airplane, whatever is moving. So whatever you see, an advanced devotee, Sthavara Jangama Dekhe, when he sees that, Na Dekhe Taramurti, he actually don't see that form. Because he understands this light is, I'm able to see that Mridanga shape because the light is reflecting on the shape like that from the sun, and the original light is Krishna. So he doesn't see objects around, does not see a mind, does not see laptop, does not see camera. What he sees actually, Sarvatra Haya, everywhere, Sarvatra Haya, Ishtadeva Spurti. He sees the manifestation of the worshipable Lord, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So when we try to practice this, we would advance, and in the advanced stage, it is possible to reach the stage where a devotee sees nothing but Krishna very well. So this is the purport of the verse today. Rasoham Kaunteya, Prabhasmisha Suryayoho, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Shabdake Paurisham. Very, very nice verse. So I'll stop here and see if you have any questions. Thanks.
So, Prabhu, this Rasoham Kaunteya, so Pravasmi Sasisure, all this when we hear. Because Krishna is telling, Prabhupada is telling, we are able to perceive that. But so is it meant for only advanced devotees to perceive Krishna in this way, or for whom is it? Like for ordinary people, they can understand that there is taste in water, but how will they understand that this is Krishna?
How will they understand this Krishna? They'll understand if they hearing from the authority is the way. It does not require any advanced knowledge of Vedic. It's very important. Thank you for the question. Because when I was young, my mother would often, if she wanted to chastise me, she would say, do you think you are a major Tattvavadi or something like that? She would use these words. That, oh, you are so proud. Are you thinking that you're some advanced Vedic scholar? So actually our Vedic literature has very advanced philosophy. Like I was just mentioning, this Janushan thinking that is there. Requires some amount of application of the mind and dedicated study. So understanding Vedic literature requires some effort from a person's side. But even if a person does not have any qualifications or any Vedic knowledge, person can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Anybody can chant. Even a dog can chant. Prabhupada says, even a dog can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. It's so easy to chant. There's no need to understand any philosophy. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly, we can get to the point of seeing Krishna or perceiving Krishna, even though we have no understanding of what this Hare means, what Krishna means, nothing. Similarly, just as a person, but if a person is not even chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, even such a person who has no understanding of any philosophy, if he simply accepts that this nice experience that I'm having with my senses, it is coming because of the mercy of Krishna. That's all. He doesn't have to understand Parasya Shakti Vivideva Suvede, Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. It's good if somebody can understand that. But even without understanding that, if he understands that this experience that I'm having is because of the mercy of Krishna, Krishna is the person, and he is giving me this mercy. If he is able to hear this and accept this, then even if he is drinking wine, and that wine is tasty to him, and he's able to, in his mind, thank Krishna for the experience of this wonderful, tasty wine that he's drinking. Actually, it is said, Prabhupada says, he'll get purified and he'll advance. So the only thing that's required for a person is to accept that Krishna is a person and he is enabling me to have this experience that I find pleasurable. Would you like to add?
Krishna. Plus three. Speaking of the Krishna, of the Supreme Lord, then like whenever we are doing any of the service to the Lord, So our senses are getting actually predefined. Because means mindly or unknowingly we are actually perceiving Krishna. So the same way, like you said that at least a person can, whenever he is actually drinking the water, so he can just think that because my thirst is getting satisfied, so he can actually feel that, oh, this is the energy of Krishna.
Yes. Yes, thinking and remembering. Because this is one of the 9 devotional services. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So the Smaranam or remembering Krishna is so powerful that by itself, because Prabhupada says that any one of the 9 devotional service processes, see, of course, the 9 devotional processes start with Shravanam, Kirtanam. But Smaranam by itself is a devotional process. And any one of the devotional process, if done perfectly, can lead us to complete perfection. So simply remembering Krishna when we are doing all our activities will take us to complete perfection. Yes.
Pointless. Yeah, I feel like this one sloka itself is telling everything like how we can smell Krishna and what is Krishna and in all aspects how can we remember him? Not only doing chanting or some stotra or something like other than that in day to day life how can we remember him and where we can say like thank to him and how can we feel mercy on us.
How can we feel his mercy on us? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's one sloka. And there are many other slokas that follow. So we'll see that in the subsequent verses, subsequent classes. And there is a litany of such verses that have been given in how we can perceive the Supreme Lord throughout the day, 24 hours. Because the instruction by Krishna is that we must Kirtaniya Sadahari. We should always be remembering Krishna. And but we have programmed only 2 hours standing, the remaining time what to do. So this is giving us the way to do it.
So just like we have so many tastes that we can taste, but here one specific taste of water is being mentioned. While on the other hand, we also see that everything is pervading the energy of Krishna. So can we say that every other taste is also taste of Krishna?
Yes.
And if that is so,
Why is water given?
yes.
Is that your question?
Yes.
What's the specialty?
Very few aspects are given. And how do we understand that?
Because everybody has a need for water. There is no land, there's no place, there's no people, there's no country where water is not needed by a human being. People go to miles just get a glass of water in many places. So water is a very, very essential product for every one of us. So it's a timeless instruction. Bhagavad Gita is a timeless instruction. Correct? Even 5,000 years from today, when all wars would have been fought over water and there will be scarcity of water, people will be drinking their own sweat. That stage, it may come, who knows. Even then, instructions are valid. If you say that drinking wine, who knows when wine will be there? Grape itself may not be there. Rice may not be there. How will you create wine? You cannot alcohol. It comes from vegetables. There are no vegetables. Everybody's eating meat. Where is the wine? So the time Bhagavad Gita instructions are for eternal. And Krishna wants us to think of him when we experience something pleasant or a neophyte. Because for example, the other day, there was an incident where a person was drinking something and then said that, oh, this is reminds me of, yeah, correct, I remember now. There was some kind of a drink maybe a kind of a herbal tea that this person was having. And it was not having any taste. It was like water. Okay. This herbal tea was not having a tea taste at all. It's herbal tea only, mild. But he was not experiencing any taste in that. He was thinking it's just like hot water. So he said, so this is, I think, Krishna. And I said, why do you think this is Krishna? Then he says, because Rasoham Apsa Kaunteya. Krishna is the taste of water. This tea is tasting like water. It's not even tasting like tea. So this tea must be Krishna. This is not the way to remember Krishna. Our positive experience should be linked with Krishna. Krishna wants that our positive experience. See, when we're thirsty and we drink water, it is very sweet. So that sweetness, that positive experience that we have, Krishna wants us to associate with him. That's why he's giving us that formula. Otherwise, for advanced devotee, Savara Jangamana dekhe na dekhe Tara Murti, right? He doesn't see difference between tea, water, or whatever it is. He doesn't see. Everywhere he sees Krishna, but our stage is not like that. Our stage is not like that, right? So if you see something very dirty, yes, that's also Krishna's energy. But if you say that teacher, I am the dirt and teacher, Krishna says like that. What is the image that comes to your mind? Not a very positive image. So that is not a purified thought for us because we start associating Krishna with the negative things and our attraction for Krishna does not grow. So Krishna is giving a very intelligent formula in a very selective way. So the things that we value the most, the things that we care about the most, that we want the most, those things which are actually available to us throughout the day, and yet they are extremely precious to us. Those things when we experience, we should think of Krishna. Then our sense will get very good. Stop here. Yantrash, all of you please come on the camera. Chant with me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Mantra